Hi, it's C, and you're watching Mind the Gap. Our regular episodes will resume after Joe Biden's inauguration on January 20th. But today I wanted to come on my channel and address what happened at the Capitol a week ago today. I first of all wanted to say that my heart is with the people who were inside the building when everything happened, their friends and family who are at home worrying about them, and even the people who are watching and maybe reliving some traumatic experiences of their own. And just for any American or person who was watching and felt that feeling of kind of being invaded or that feeling of, robbery. I hope that all of the people that went through that in one way or another are taking care of themselves. Calling your therapist, taking your meds, turning off the news when you need to, turning off notifications when you need to, or turning it all off if you have to, which is sometimes the best solution. So I wanted to start by saying that my heart and thoughts are with everyone whose PTSD may have been activated by all that, because it was a traumatic day for individuals and for our country. So I am not the expert on fascism. I'm not an expert on white supremacy or domestic terrorism or any of the events surrounding that day, and we're still finding out new things every day. But there are two things that I am an expert on, and that's growing up in a world of extremely strict evangelicalism and a very deeply, strongly anti-choice world, or pro-life, as some may be familiar with calling it. And my thought process for today started, strangely enough, in a conversation I was having with my dear friend Carly. We were talking, this seems like a million years ago, but we were talking about how the whole Merrick Garland situation went down at the end of Obama's term, and how ridiculous and outrageous and outside the rules and decorum it all seemed, and even by today's standards, how wild the whole situation was, and how there was just no chance that the Democrats were going to be able to confirm a justice no matter what happened. And the Democrats went high and the Republicans went low, and we all know what happened and all the crazy things that have happened since then. And so I was looking at the situation, from a refreshed viewpoint, from that viewpoint of, having grown up in that evangelical, pro-life world. And I was telling Carly, when you get your entire base rabidly obsessed with, baby killing, overturning Roe versus Wade, the law of the land, believing blatant lies about what happens inside Planned Parenthood and clinics, believing these outrageous stories about late-term abortion, and being hyper-focused on abortion in general, then God is on your side. And the rules and the laws go out the window. The going low converts to going high, because it's sanctioned by pastors and God and religion, and anybody going against it, especially, the first Black president, and the godless Democrats, they're all baby murderers who are going to hell. So it's really as simple as that. You just automatically become the right side, the correct side, the side that God is on. And something that people forget is that anybody who goes against that is persecuting the Christians. And if you haven't spent a lot of time around people in the evangelical world, I think that, people joke about, coastal elites or whatever. I don't really like to use that phrase, but since it's in the zeitgeist, I'll throw it out there. If you haven't spent a lot of time around, the evangelical community, you don't realize that persecution is what the evangelical community longs for. And so the more you fight against the pro-life crowd, and now the Trump crowd, you're persecuting them. The more you kick them off Facebook, Twitter, Parler, and all these platforms that, Trump and his ilk have been kicked off this week, the more that you're persecuting them. And, the greater that reward might be in heaven, depending on the person. So you cannot combat these people without a deep understanding of cult mentalities, the Bible itself, whatever version that may be. There are many. You can't combat it without a deep understanding of evangelicals and churches and different denominations, and spiritual warfare is a huge piece of that a lot of these people believe in and translate into the whole, military industrial complex of the United States. And even people who are on the fringes, religion-wise, who don't consider themselves religious or subscribe to a certain denomination or religion or faith, they're still affected, and they still adopt a lot of this because it upholds their white supremacy. So this, to me, is a lot of the catalyst for what happened last week, and it is behind a lot of what, may happen in the coming days if, a lot of this chatter is to be believed about, more violence and trouble in the coming days, because the more that you persecute them, the more that God and right and good is on their side. And so, like I said, I am not an expert on, war amongst humans and all these things, but I do know a lot about the evangelical world and the pro-life anti-choice world, and I know how they think more than I care to know. And my spiritual journey is something I'll talk about, and I have a very complicated relationship with higher powers, and I'm not making any statements about that right now, but I'm just letting you know that if you're unfamiliar with that, I would love to answer your questions. I'm sorry I haven't been answering DMs in the past week. I've gotten all of them about your feminist heroes, and we'll definitely address that after the 20th. But regarding this, I will respond. So email me, DM me, and we can talk about it, because I'm happy to answer questions for people who don't understand what it's like to live in that world of deeply evangelical, deeply pro-life, anti-choice people. So that being said, those are my 2 cents with regards to the insurrection at the U.S. Capitol, which was unbelievably a week ago today. What a week. Again, I hope that you're all taking care of yourselves physically, mentally, emotionally, spiritually, and check on the people around you. I think a lot of people are traumatized and don't realize physical sensations they're getting may be due to the trauma they're feeling about what's going on in our country. So those of you who are more in touch with your mental health, maybe check on a friend who hasn't gotten into any kind of therapy journey, and you might be able to really help somebody get started in that journey as well, which is such an important one, as many of you know. So we'll be back with regular episodes around January 21st, but in the meantime, stay safe, stay healthy, wear your mask, and I will see you on the 21st. Mind the gap.